thanks for coming at very short notice. He pushed back a flight by an hour to come here. Thanks very much. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I was told to at least spend a few minutes with you guys. Thank you for the invitation. It's nice to be here. And I appreciate education because I've been in the classroom. I've taught before. I've taught students, some not so well, I'm afraid. But, you know, I think more than anything I can appreciate, I grew up in Soweto, as many of you know. And the best way I can talk to you is to talk to you about really not where I've succeeded, but in areas that I've failed. And why, in fact, having good teachers helps along with that. One of the key things that helped me, because when I grew up in the 80s, education for black kids was inferior. I mean, I know that for a fact. And it took two teachers. They both now teach in, one teaches in St. Stithians and the other retired from teaching. It took them, two white South Africans who made a decision to say, I'm going to reach out to black kids and give them an opportunity for an education. They came out. We did Saturday school back then. Do you guys do Saturday school? No. No, you must. You must come to school every day, man, including Saturday. But I did Saturday school, and it was at Saturday school that improved my maths, it improved my science, and I also had to do English. But it took two teachers who decided that things were not right, and they would deal with students from Soweto who weren't going to make it. And they worked there. And I'm always forever grateful to those guys, because if it wasn't for those guys, I don't think I'd be here. It was teachers who made a decision to say through education they can change the life of a young person. And it was through them that both my wife and I decided to go into teaching. My wife teaches, she still teaches, she teaches English and history all the way to matric. And it was in the classroom where in fact you sit down and you say, how do we produce a value for education? How do we make sure that young people can change their lives through that? You know, if you wrote my story, the kids who live next door to me, many of them have dropped out of school, many of them are now involved with drugs, many of them mainly because they failed to get a decent education. And I know we all make mistakes in life. But you know what the great thing is? It's because when I finished school, I made a decision. I said, hey, I'm going to work at school. I remember writing my matric exams. Those things are mean and terrible, but I had to work hard. I remember we had to study hard with one of my friends who's now a journalist. Subsequent to that, I decided I'd do a degree in psychology. We didn't have money, we didn't have anything at home. I registered at UNISA. I did my degree in psychology. Then after that, I decided I'd do a master's at Wits. And it's because, you know, not even with money. My parents couldn't pay, that's why I went to UNISA. But all of us today, I can sit here today and say, thankfully, because of the opportunities that come through education, I can stand up before anybody. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, it doesn't matter education levels at all. It stops the nonsense, if I can say it like that. And you can sit down and really compete with anybody because you are willing to knuckle down, go to school, work hard, and get through it. You guys, what keeps me awake every day? It's young South Africans who say, let's all go to school, let's do our best. Please, all I'm asking you is, you guys must pass. I'll work hard to make sure that we have an economy that allows you to find jobs one day. Because it's one thing to study, it's quite another to study too. And you know what, in South Africa, the more you study, there's a correlation. The better you are at work, and the better you are in terms of your income. I ask you, please, you can watch television, you can watch all sorts of things. There are a whole lot of people there who just suddenly are successful and they make money because they're rappers or they're this. That only happens to a few people. Really, the majority of people in life make it because they stay in the classroom, they get into school, and ultimately if we can make sure we do our bit by making sure an economy that can grow, you're able to find work and provide for your families. A lot in South Africa is not going to be given to you, but I beg you, I ask you, if you do anything, study and do well. When I did my first degree, I was the most qualified in my family. When I finished matric, I was more qualified than most people in my own home. When I did my degree, even my parents didn't have their degrees. So it's not like you can look back and say, if I go past my parents, I've done well. You must continue and advance it because your kids, I know you know many of you, any of you have kids, clever, don't do it. But all I'm asking is simply this, is that even for your kids, the generation that will come after you, inspire them to go further than yourselves. So if I've said anything to you, it's simply this, stay in the classroom, make sure you do well. It may suck at the moment you have to sit down and do homework every single day, but I can tell you, if it wasn't for the teachers who cared enough and the schools I went to, I can say, hand to heart, I wouldn't be where I am today. I literally would not have been able to sit down and compete with anybody. I wouldn't have been able to stand up and lead in an organization I lead in. I wouldn't be able, it was mainly because I had stayed in the classroom with people who cared, and you work hard. Knuckle down. You guys, already by being here, I can see there's a diverse group of South Africans that are here. I must be honest, just by being here, I'm proud of you. Do well, do your best, and I hope one day I'll see some of you at the VETS graduation or at the UJ graduation, or even if you don't go there, but at any technicon, at any place, because it's South Africans like you who will contribute to make this country a better one. Is that okay? Yes. So let me ask you, please, please. I want to come back here. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to come back here next year. I'm going to come back here the year after that. I want to see you guys do well. Please promise me that. Don't. Life sometimes is hard. Schooling is tough. And sometimes you feel like giving up. Please don't. It's worth it. It takes a kid like me who had parents. My mother worked at the Hyperama. Tell you the truth. She worked as a cashier. And now I can sit here today having, from her sacrifice. My father used to say, Morena, I'd rather not have socks, but for you to stay in the classroom. It was hard. We paid for it. But I'm glad today I can look back and say, to Melin Tate, I've advanced from where you left off. Now hopefully my kids can have an education that is better than me. So I wish you all the best. Be strong, do well. I'm proud of you. Next year when I come back, you better all be here or have done well, at least. I'll check up, I'll follow up. I'll make sure I'll do that, all right? Thank you so much. Yes, you got a question?
Why politics? You're a little bit more like me. You have a couple of we have characteristics which are similar. You seem outspoken. Obviously, you think on the spot. Why politics? I mean, I've considered politics in a sense because I'm constantly in a debate or argument of some sort. You can ask Philip.
Sure.
Why that? You went from teaching, you have a psychology degree.
Because, you know, the easiest way I can do it is tell you two stories. I was working as a consultant in a company, and I thought that, hey, we can make money here, right? But why would I want to make money for a system in the country that will benefit a few? And I know businesses employ people, but I thought to myself, look, man, I want to also go do other things. I want to work for the Department of Education. I didn't want to be a politician. I still don't want to be a politician, to be quite honest with you. I wanted to really go and work in the Department of Education, make sure textbooks are delivered on time. That's really what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to consult for the department. So that's why I studied a master's in public administration, because I wanted to be in public administration in a funny sort of way. That's what I wanted to do. But I remember once going to a squatter camp not far from here in Diepsloot. When I got there, I found this old lady. She was digging her own toilet. I thought to myself, in what country and in what world should an old woman be digging her toilet while others are throwing away food? Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, no, sometimes in your life you stand up, you want to fight for something. The NGOs can do something, but local government can do more. So I thought, I'll stand as a ward councillor so that I can fight for that old granny. And in many ways, that's why I say I'm not a politician in some ways. It's because I'm not in this thing for a game. You know how other people like to play politics. This is not it for me. For me, politics gives us the best opportunity to be able to say, what can I do for South Africa? So even if I was not in public office, I'd still fight for the people of this country. That's what I want to do. So if you want to go into politics, if you're thinking about it, ask yourself this question. What cause do you want to fight for? Just want to keep you going.